Level 1. The Small Town Apprentice. You are born in a town where nothing changes quickly and everyone knows your last name before they know your first. Your father argues cases in a modest courtroom with peeling paint. Your mother organizes charity dinners and church auctions where the same 10 families rotate seats at the head table. You are not poor. You are not rich. You are comfortable enough to observe. From a young age, you notice patterns. The mayor laughs a little too hard at the factory owner's jokes. The judge always seems to interpret the law in ways that protect the local bank. The wealthiest families donate to every campaign, every scholarship fund, every public project, and somehow every public project benefits them in return. No one explains this to you. You simply watch. At school, teachers praise honesty and hard work. At home, dinner guests talk about relationships and leverage. You begin to understand that information matters less than influence. Facts are flexible. Perception is currency. In high school, you decide to run for student body president. Not because you believe in school spirit or cafeteria reform. You run because you want to test a theory: can charm outperform substance? You shake every hand. You memorize names, siblings, sports teams. You promise better dances, longer lunch periods, renovated lockers, ideas you know require budgets and approvals you don't control. But you speak with conviction. You look people in the eye. You make them feel seen. You win in a landslide. That night, staring at your reflection, you recognize something unsettling. You can create belief. You can shape how people see you, and by extension, how they see reality. That realization changes everything. You do not crave attention. You crave reach. Level 2. The Strategist in Training. College is not about education. It is about proximity. You choose a major that keeps you near ambitious people. You join organizations where future lawyers, consultants, and campaign managers gather. You study rhetoric more than textbooks. You learn how tone can overpower truth, how repetition can transform speculation into certainty. Law school becomes the next logical step, not because you love statutes or constitutional theory, but because credentials build credibility. And credibility builds trust. You graduate somewhere in the middle of your class. Academically unremarkable, socially unforgettable. You keep a database in your head. Who owes you a favor? Who needs a connection? Who is dating whom? Whose parent funds scholarships? You attend weddings, fundraisers, alumni galas. You write thank you notes. You never forget a birthday. At 28, you run for city council in a growing district. You knock on thousands of doors. You attend neighborhood watch meetings and retirement parties. You take photos with toddlers and veterans. You listen more than you speak, but when you speak, you mirror the listener's priorities. You win by a narrow margin. It is your first taste of formal authority. Soon after taking office, a property developer invites you to lunch. He wants approval to build luxury apartments on land previously designated for environmental protection. The review process could stall the project for years. He never offers a bribe. That would be clumsy. Instead, he hires your small law firm as a consultant. The contract is vague. The payments are generous. Your firm's revenue doubles. You advocate for streamlining bureaucracy. You call it economic growth. The permits are expedited. The wetlands vanish. The apartments rise. Your professional reputation improves. You learn your first operational principle. Compensation is rarely direct. It flows through channels that look legitimate. You tell yourself you are helping development. You repeat it often enough that you almost believe it. Level 3. The Legislator. After 2 terms on city council, you are known as someone who gets results. You do not advertise how those results are achieved. You run for state legislature at 34. Campaigning at this level requires serious money. Advertising, consultants, data analytics, nothing is cheap. You don't possess the necessary funds, but you know people who do. Labor groups want favorable contracts. Pharmaceutical executives want regulatory relief. Energy companies want permits approved faster. They donate. Officially, the money supports messaging about education and infrastructure. Unofficially, it purchases access. You win. At the state capitol, you are once again insignificant. A freshman legislator with a small office and limited staff. But you adapt quickly. You observe that formal debates are theater. Real negotiations occur in private dinners, on golf courses, inside conversations before votes. You learn to trade. A senior lawmaker approaches you with a request. A federal grant for rural healthcare facilities is being redirected through intermediaries toward a construction firm he quietly controls. The arrangement requires supportive votes to survive scrutiny. You provide yours. In return, he secures you a seat on a powerful budget committee. Now you influence funding streams. You determine which districts receive grants, which agencies face cuts. You begin to understand that money allocation is more potent than speechmaking. The public sees policy disagreements. You see financial architecture. Level 4. The insider. 6 years pass. You refine your methods. You no longer speak recklessly. You frame every position in terms of growth, security, and stability. Words that mean everything, and nothing. Lobbyists host dinners. They fund policy retreats. They sponsor conferences in scenic destinations. You attend under the banner of research. Your spouse becomes active in charitable boards supported by corporate donors. Gifts appear, art, jewelry, travel accommodations, always routed through permissible channels. Nothing illegal, nothing provable. You discover your second principle. Create distance between yourself and transactions. Layers protect. You are invited to private gatherings hosted by influential financiers and industry leaders. They never seek office themselves. They prefer leverage without visibility. They analyze candidates like investments. Who is dependable? Who can be guided? Who responds to incentives? You respond predictably. Media consultants reshape your image. Pollsters refine your messaging. You are coached on posture, cadence, wardrobe. A brand is being engineered. The brand is you. You tell yourself this is how governance functions, partnerships between public and private interests. But deep down, you understand the imbalance. Level 5. The national figure. At 42, you pursue a seat in Congress. Party leadership clears potential challengers. Funding flows in coordinated waves. National committees invest millions. You win comfortably. In the capital, influence operates at industrial scale. Defense corporations, technology giants, insurance conglomerates, they maintain entire departments devoted to shaping legislation. Your staff includes individuals who previously represented these industries. After public service, many will return to them. You introduce bills framed as innovation incentives and market modernization. Complex language masks targeted benefits. Months later, a family member receives a lucrative advisory role within a corporation that benefited from your proposal. You are invited to join corporate boards. Compensation is generous for minimal hours. Your third principle emerges. Rewards mature over time. Immediate. Exchanges attract attention. Deferred benefits appear organic. You justify everything as lawful. You study ethics guidelines carefully. You comply with disclosure rules, technically. Voters see you on television discussing jobs and national security. They do not see the calendar filled with private briefings. Level 6. The upper chamber. After multiple terms, you aim higher. A Senate campaign requires extraordinary funding. Political action committees, bundled donations, nonprofit advocacy groups, the financing web is vast. You avoid asking about the origins of certain contributions. Plausible deniability is essential. Advertisements portray you as a reformer. Your opponent is framed as compromised. You win. Now you are one of 100. Committee assignments amplify your power. On defense matters, contractors treat you with deference. They sponsor policy trips abroad. They contribute to philanthropic foundations associated with your family. You advocate for procurement projects that promise jobs in your state. Some systems are questioned by analysts as unnecessary or inefficient. You emphasize employment and regional investment. You also sit in confidential intelligence briefings. Information about global instability crosses your desk before markets react. You never trade personally, but you notice that certain acquaintances make remarkably timed investments. Investigations occasionally arise. They fade. You recognize how opaque complexity shields outcomes. Level 7. The campaign for the highest office. Decades into public life, party leaders approach you. Polling data suggests viability. Donor networks signal support. In private meetings, expectations are outlined. Key appointments, judicial nominations, strategic priorities, all discussed before a single vote is cast. You agree. The campaign trail becomes performance art. In industrial towns, you promise revival. In coastal cities, you promise sustainability. Each audience receives tailored reassurance. Fact-checkers dispute your claims. Supporters dismiss the critiques as partisan. You understand now that emotional resonance outweighs empirical accuracy. Election night arrives. Margins are thin in pivotal regions. Legal teams prepare contingencies. Ultimately, you prevail. The narrative celebrates perseverance and destiny. You contemplate the path from that small-town classroom to this national stage. Level 8. The executive. The oath is administered. Cameras flash. Crowds cheer. You inherit immense authority. Command over armed forces, influence over regulatory frameworks, veto power over legislation. Yet constraints surround you. Financial backers anticipate favorable tax policies. Party strategists expect loyalty to ideological priorities. Corporate stakeholders seek regulatory adjustments. Draft executive orders arrive from policy institutes with clear affiliations. You review, adjust language, sign. You appoint agency heads who favor reduced oversight. You justify decisions as efficiency reforms. Allies facing legal trouble receive clemency. You describe it as compassion. Supporters celebrate achievements. Critics decry betrayals. Years pass. You leave office with wealth multiplied through speaking engagements, book deals, advisory positions. A library bearing your name curates your legacy. Public memory softens complexities. Epilogue. Continuity. In a high school gymnasium somewhere, a teen